From hidden tombs to lost temples, the ancient Egyptians left behind a legacy full of unanswered questions. These are just few of the many unsolved mysteries that surround the incredible civilization of ancient Egypt. The Great Pyramid of Giza isn't just a massive structure, it's a testament to ancient Egypt's brilliance. Built around 4,500 years ago, this colossal tomb stands at a staggering 481 feet tall and is made up of over 2 million limestone blocks, some of which weigh as much as 15 tons. My back hurts just thinking about that. But how did the Egyptians manage to build such a colossal structure with such precision that long ago? Did they use ramps, pulleys, or something else entirely? Early theories suggested ramps, but none of them fully explain just how the blocks were moved into place or how they achieved such perfect alignment with the cardinal points of the compass. The Great Pyramid is so precisely aligned, even modern builders would struggle to match it. Trust me, I live in Toronto. I've watched them build the same subway station for 8 years straight. Still not done. Perhaps what it was back then was that the ancient Egyptians had access to knowledge that was either lost or never documented in the first place. Some researchers speculate that the pyramid could have been part of an ancient system of knowledge, now lost to time, that we may never fully understand. The more we learn, the more questions arise. Cleopatra VII, the last pharaoh of Egypt, and her lover, Roman general Mark Antony, remain one of the most famous figures in history. After they tragically, supposedly took their own lives in 30 BC, they were believed to have been buried together in this lavish tomb somewhere near Alexandria. Yes, somewhere out there. Good luck, grab a shovel. Despite the best efforts of archaeologists and historians, no one's ever found their final resting place yet. The tomb is thought to be hidden beneath the Mediterranean, with some experts suggesting that it was deliberately concealed to protect it from looters, ergo us now. Could the tomb be submerged, or is it still hidden somewhere beneath the sands, just waiting to be discovered? The search continues day after day as the lost tomb of Cleopatra and Antony remains one of Egypt's greatest unsolved riddles. If you found it, would you open it? The so-called Curse of the Pharaohs gained notoriety after the discovery of King Tut's tomb in 1922. A series of mysterious passings among the members of the excavation team, including the sudden passing of Lord Carnarvon, the tomb's financial backer, of course sparked rumors of this curse placed on those who dared to disturb the pharaoh's final resting place. I kind of believe in this curse. Honestly, if curses are real in some degree, this has got to be one of them. While many believe these passings were simply coincidences or the result of exposure to bacteria, others are convinced that there's more to the story. Did the ancient Egyptians really believe that their tombs held supernatural powers capable of punishing grave robbers and explorers? While most historians dismiss the curse as a superstition, it's impossible to deny the strange coincidences surrounding these events. The idea of supernatural forces protecting royal tombs adds an eerie layer to Egypt's already weird mystical history. The Book of the Deceased is one of the most important texts in Egyptian culture, a collection of spells and rituals designed to guide the dearly departed through the underworld and into the afterlife. Now, while we may have examples of these texts, small little teases, the true meaning and full significance of this book still remain a mystery. The rituals described within it were thought to help the deceased navigate trials, face divine judgment, and eventually, hopefully, be granted access to eternal life. But how did the Egyptians believe this book worked? Was it simply a symbolic representation of their hopes, or did they believe that by following these spells, they could truly interact with the gods? The book's complexity and the varied interpretations of its spells suggested it was more than just a guide. It was a key to unlocking the divine. The Great Sphinx of Giza is one of the most recognizable symbols of Egypt, right? We saw this in our math textbooks for some reason. But what lies beneath it? Ancient texts referred to this mysterious chamber hidden beneath the Sphinx's paws, possibly containing treasure or lost knowledge. Now, despite extensive exploration and attempts to uncover these hidden spaces, no definitive evidence has ever been found. Again, yet. Some believe that the Sphinx could be much older than traditionally thought, perhaps even predating the pyramids themselves, believe it or not, suggesting it might have been guarding secrets from an even earlier civilization. Others propose that the Sphinx holds the key to understanding an ancient cosmic or spiritual system. Until these chambers are actually found, the Sphinx's silent gaze remains an enduring mystery.
In our number 4 spot today, we have the tomb of Alexander the Great. Beneath the vibrant streets of modern Alexandria, whispers of a hidden tomb ignite the imagination imaginations of archaeologists and treasure hunters, the lost resting place of Alexander the Great. After his death, it's said his body was brought back to Egypt, a land he admired and where he was proclaimed a pharaoh. Over centuries, the exact location of his tomb has been swallowed by time, earthquakes, and rising sea levels. Some speculate it could be concealed beneath ancient ruins or submerged under the harbor, waiting to unveil secrets of the Hellenistic era. Finding this tomb wouldn't just be an archaeological coup, it could potentially unearth artifacts or writings that reshape our understanding of history. The allure of unlocking such a monumental mystery keeps the world watching, as each passing year holds the tantalizing possibility that Alexander's legendary tomb might finally be found. In our number 3 spot today, we have the underground chambers beneath the Sphinx. Deep beneath the stoic visage of the Great Sphinx on the Giza plateau, tales of hidden chambers and secret tunnels abound. For centuries, locals and adventurers have whispered about what might lie beneath this ancient guardian of the pyramids. Geological surveys have revealed anomalies, unexplained voids and cavities that suggest the possibility of underground rooms or passageways. Some believe these spaces could house lost treasures or ancient texts detailing the mysteries of the pharaohs. Others speculate about connections to the mythical Hall of Records, a legendary repository of wisdom from a bygone era. The risk of damaging the Sphinx has kept these secrets locked away, as no confirmed entrances have been found to explore them. The allure of what might be concealed beneath these colossal paws continues to captivate the world. Could unlocking these chambers alter our understanding of history itself? In our number 2 spot today, we have the burial chamber of Pharaoh Amenhotep I. Hidden somewhere within the winding corridors and secret chambers of the Valley of the Kings lies one of Egypt's most enduring mysteries, the lost burial chamber of Pharaoh Amenhotep I. Despite decades of tireless excavation and exploration, archaeologists have yet to uncover his final resting place. This pharaoh ruled during a transformative period of the 18th dynasty, and his untouched tomb could be a gold mine of ancient treasures and forgotten texts. Some believe it might contain scrolls that detail the earliest practices of mummification, or even maps to other undiscovered tombs. There's talk of hidden passageways sealed by elaborate traps designed to protect his legacy from tomb robbers of the past and the present. The allure of finding Amenhotep I's tomb isn't just about unearthing riches, it's about unlocking a pivotal chapter in Egyptian history that could redefine what we know about this ancient civilization. Could the next strike of the pickaxe finally reveal the secrets that have been buried for a millennia? And finally, in our number 1 spot today, we have the unopened tombs in the Valley of the Kings. Deep within the sun-baked cliffs of the Valley of the Kings in Luxor, several mysterious tombs lie untouched, sealed since ancient times. Detected by modern technology like ground-penetrating radar, these hidden chambers remain inaccessible due to unstable rock formations and the challenges they pose. Some archaeologists speculate that these tombs could belong to lesser-known pharaohs or influential nobles whose names have been lost to history. Others whisper about the possibility of secret cults or even undiscovered dynasties concealed within. The allure is irresistible. What if these unopened tombs house untold treasures, sacred artifacts, or scrolls that could rewrite our understanding of Egyptian civilization? Each day, the desert sands shift slightly, as if guarding these secrets a little longer. The anticipation builds. Could the next archaeological breakthrough finally unlock these silent chambers and the mysteries that they hold? In our number 10 spot, we have the tomb of Heraore. Amidst the towering columns and sacred halls of the Karnak temple complex, the elusive tomb of Heraore continues to captivate historians. Heraore was no ordinary figure. Originally a high priest of the Amen, he boldly declared himself pharaoh during Egypt's tumultuous Third Intermediate period. Yet, despite his audacious rise to power, little evidence of his burial site has ever been found. Some speculate that his tomb could be hidden within a secret chamber of Karnak itself, filled with treasures and inscriptions that chronicle a time of political intrigue and religious upheaval. Others wonder if his final resting place was deliberately concealed to protect his legacy from rivals. The discovery of Heraore's tomb could unlock a treasure trove of artifacts and scrolls, shedding light on a shadowy chapter of Egyptian history. As each new expedition delves into the ancient ruins, the possibility of unearthing this lost tomb adds a layer of excitement and mystery. Could the next turn of a dusty corridor finally reveal the secrets of the self-made pharaoh who dared to redefine his destiny? In our number 9 spot today, we have the lost labyrinth of Egypt at Hawara. Hidden beneath the sands near the Fayum oasis, the lost labyrinth of Egypt at Hawara remains one of the most tantalizing mysteries of the ancient world. Described by historians like Herodotus as a colossal underground complex with thousands of rooms and winding passages, it's said to have rivaled even the grandeur of the pyramids. While archaeologists have uncovered some remnants that hint at its existence, the labyrinth itself remains largely unexplored and unopened. Legends speak of vast halls adorned with hieroglyphs that could unlock secrets of forgotten dynasties, or perhaps even chambers guarding untold treasures and mystical artifacts. Some theories suggest it was designed as a giant puzzle intended to protect sacred knowledge from falling into the wrong hands. The mere thought that such an architectural marvel lies waiting to be rediscovered definitely ignites the imagination. Could the lost labyrinth be the key to unraveling mysteries that have eluded us for millennia? In our number 8 spot today, we have the Big Void in the Great Pyramid of Giza. Hidden within the towering limestone blocks of the Great Pyramid of Giza, there is a massive unexplored cavity known as the Big Void. Discovered in 2017 through the innovated use of muon radiography, a technique that detects particles from cosmic rays, the void sits mysteriously above the Grand Gallery. Its sheer size suggests it wasn't an accidental space or a simple architectural flaw. Could it be a secret chamber built to house untold treasures or sacred texts from a bygone era? Some speculate it might even be a concealed passageway designed to protect the pharaoh's journey to the afterlife. The lack of access points has kept this mystery sealed off from the world, fueling countless theories and a sense of wonder. As we stand on the brink of new technological breakthroughs, the possibility of uncovering what lies within the Big Void keeps the world eagerly watching Egypt's ancient sands. In our number 7 spot today, we have the hidden chambers of Tutankhamun's tomb. Nestled deep within the Valley of the Kings, Tutankhamun's tomb has dazzled the world ever since its discovery in 1922, but recent radar scans have reignited the excitement by hinting at hidden chambers adjacent to the young pharaoh's burial site. Some archaeologists speculate that these secret rooms could be the untouched resting place of Queen Nefertiti, one of ancient Egypt's most mysterious figures. The possibility of uncovering new treasures and untold stories has the archaeological community buzzing. Could these concealed chambers hold the key to mysteries that have puzzled historians for decades? As technology advances, the anticipation builds, and the sands of Egypt may yet reveal more of their timeless secrets. In our number 6 spot today, we have the tomb of Imhotep. Deep within the ancient sands of Sakara lies one of Egypt's most captivating mysteries, the undiscovered tomb of Imhotep. Known as the brilliant architect who designed the Step Pyramid, the world's first colossal stone structure, Imhotep was so revered that he was deified after death, a rare honor bestowed upon few mortals. Yet, despite his monumental impact on history, his burial site has never been found. Archaeologists speculate that unearthing his tomb could reveal groundbreaking insights into Old Kingdom Egypt, possibly containing ancient scrolls detailing the origins of pyramid construction or medicinal texts that predate modern knowledge. Some even whisper about hidden chambers filled with artifacts that could rewrite everything we know about ancient engineering. The quest to find his tomb isn't just about locating a lost grave, it's a race to uncover secrets that have been buried for over 4 millennia. In our number 5 spot today, we have the lost tomb of Cleopatra and Mark Antony. Somewhere along the sun-soaked shores near Alexandria, or hidden beneath the ancient ruins of Taposiris Magna, lies the elusive tomb of Cleopatra and Mark Antony, cloaked in legend and intrigue. As Egypt's last pharaoh and her Roman lover, their dramatic love story ended in tragedy, and their final resting place has become one of history's most tantalizing mysteries. Archaeologists have been chasing whispers and deciphering clues from ancient texts, believing that uncovering this tomb could reveal artifacts of immense historical significance, perhaps even scrolls penned by Cleopatra herself. Some speculate the tomb could be an underground palace filled with treasures that surpass even those in King Tut's burial chamber. The very idea that beneath the shifting sands lies a sealed crypt holding the final secrets of these iconic lovers keeps the world watching Egypt with bated breath. Could the next spade of Earth finally unveil the hidden chapter of this epic saga?
Starting off our list today, we have the Screaming Mummy, one of the more disturbing archaeological finds of the 1800s. In 1886, wow, this is not a recent find. In 1886, head of the Egyptian's antique service Gaston Maspero unwrapped what is now known as Man-E, or the Screaming Mummy. Man-E was found inside of a plain coffin wrapped up in sheepskin, which is already strange considering the fact that most mummies were wrapped in fine linens, and according to experts, sheepskin was considered impure by the ancient Egyptians. Not only that, but this corpse had not been properly embalmed, just left out to dry. Also, both of the mummy's hands and feet were bound. And then there is, of course, the matter of its expression, a contorted scream, which have led archaeologists to believe that Man-E was in a great deal of pain at the time of his death. Not only that, but other evidence has brought researchers to the conclusion that Man-E might have been a prince, and the son of the pharaoh Ramses III. Ancient papyrus scrolls reveal that the pharaoh's family, army, commanders, servants, and wives had planned to kill him. It also says that conspirators were captured and tried. While at first it is believed that the mutiny was unsuccessful, a CT scan of Pharaoh Ramses III showed that he actually likely died after his throat was cut. If that really is the case, and it was his son who killed him, that would explain why Man-E was not only killed, but also terribly dishonored in his death.
Next up, we have one of the most exciting things you could ever hope to find in one of the Egyptian pyramids, a secret chamber. So in early March of 2023, Egypt's antiquities authorities unveiled a pretty remarkable discovery. It was a sealed off chamber inside of one of the great pyramids at Giza, dating back approximately 4,500 years. The chamber was found using advanced scanning technology on the northern side of the pyramid of Khufu. They found that the corridor is about 30 feet long and over 6 feet wide, situated above the pyramid's main entrance. What makes it even more interesting is that it's not accessible from the outside. So what is the purpose of this chamber, or what was the purpose? Archaeologists are still not sure, but the hope here is that this tunnel actually leads to King Khufu's burial chamber. Interestingly, this is not the first discovery of a mystery chamber in this very same pyramid. Back in 2017, scientists found a sealed off corridor, a 30-meter chamber inside of Khufu. So there were various scanning techniques used here, including ultrasound measurements and ground penetrating radars employed to locate this chamber. Christian Gross, a leading member of the project, said he's hoping there could be even more secrets in this pyramid, and I, for one, agree.
Next up, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. But what would 1,000 words be worth if your tongue was made of gold? Why do I ask? Well, because in 2021, it was reported that archaeologists had unearthed a handful of 2,000-year-old mummies with, wait for it, golden tongues. The mummies were found at Alexandria's Tapiceris Magna Temple. There were 16 of them, poorly preserved, buried in rock-cut tombs that would have been popular in the Greek and Roman eras. It is likely the golden tongues were placed into the mouths of the individuals so that they would be able to speak before the court of the god Osiris, the god of the underworld and the judge of the dead. In one of the tombs, Osiris was depicted on the linens encasing one of the mummies. In another tomb, images of a crown, horns, and a cobra snake were depicted around a mummy's head, and a symbol of the god Horus, the god of kingship, healing, protection, the sun, and the sky, was found on the same mummy's chest. The very same excavation turned up ancient funeral masks with golden flakes dating back to the Greek and Roman eras, as well as a number of coins adorned with the name and portrait of Queen Cleopatra VII, the last ruler of the Egyptian Empire.
Next on the list, we have the discovery of mysterious L-shaped cone-shaped structure underneath the Giza pyramid complex. A team of archaeologists from Japan and Egypt found something really cool near the pyramid complex of Giza. They used ground-penetrating radar, or GPR, to explore the area beneath Giza's western cemetery. The GPR works by capturing wave reflections from underground, and then it creates three-dimensional images. Between 2021 and 2023, they focused on a flat, empty part of the cemetery that strangely didn't have any tombs, but they suspected something was down there. The area had a different density from the surrounding soil, and the shape of whatever this anomaly was made it clear that it was man-made. The radar data showed two underground structures, one shallow and one deeper down. The shallow one, shaped like an L, is about 33 feet wide and 49 feet long, lying 6.5 feet below the surface. The deeper structure is about 16 to 33 feet underground and covers about 33 square feet. The archaeologists were pretty excited because the shapes and the layout of these structures didn't seem like natural formations. It looked like they'd been built by humans. As for exactly what's down there, research is still ongoing, but if it's an underground facility of some kind, there could be tons of artifacts and remains and who knows what else. We've talked about an incredible discovery archaeologist Kathleen Martinez made a couple years back, the possible location of Cleopatra's tomb. Well, I have an update on this, but before we get into that, here's a recap. Kathleen Martinez has been searching for Cleopatra's tomb since 2005, and in 2022 she started getting onto something big. She believed she may have finally discovered the tunnel that leads to it. The tunnel was found beneath the temple ruins of Taposiris Magna, a site built around 280 BCE that's dedicated to the gods Osiris and Isis. The tunnel sits about 42.5 feet underground, carved into the sandstone, but parts of this tunnel have been submerged in water, of course making it a bit more of a challenge to explore. At Taposiris Magna, the archaeological team has already uncovered some fascinating artifacts, sculptures of Isis, coins featuring Cleopatra and Alexander the Great, and even an entire burial ground filled with mummies. But the next step was for the team to, of course, investigate the nearby Mediterranean Sea where part of the tunnel is submerged. But let's get on to this update. Martinez needed permission from the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities to carry out the next step of her investigation, but she needed a specific artifact to back up her theory that this temple was dedicated to the goddess Isis, a goddess Cleopatra famously claimed to be the reincarnation of. The item she was looking for is called a foundation plate, inscribed with important details about when and why the temple was built. Archaeological missions had been searching for this plate since the 1800s, but they all came up empty-handed. That is until Dr. Martinez. She found the foundation plate she was looking for, which reads, "The king of high and low Egypt, Ptolemy V lives forever, beloved by Isis." This plate finally proved that the temple was indeed dedicated to the goddess. Now, to help with her underwater search, she reached out to Robert Ballard, the diver who found the Titanic, and now with the support from the Egyptian government, her expedition was a go. During their exploration in submerged Alexandria, the team found structures standing 3 meters tall, and they did not look like natural formations. They also uncovered basalt, the same material used in statues from the first temple, confirming these structures were made by humans. More than 5 other points of interest were also identified and are set to be excavated in the next permit season, some even 10 kilometers out from the coast. Dr. Martinez is convinced that if Alexandria is underwater, then Cleopatra's temple may be as well. There will definitely be more updates to come. The Valley of the Golden Mummies is an amazing burial site found in Egypt's western desert. It dates back to the Greco-Roman period and was discovered in 1996 by archaeologist Zahi Hawass and his team. They uncovered around 250 mummies, over several seasons, but Hawass later estimated that there could be more than 10,000 mummies buried in this area. When the team first found these mummies, many were in surprisingly good condition too. They had a variety of decorating styles, but the researchers identified 4 main ones. The first style featured a gilded mask covering the face, along with a gilded waistcoat that depicted different gods and goddesses. About 60 of the mummies were adorned like this. The second style was covered with courtenage, which is a type of material made from layers of linen and plaster. These mummies displayed scenes of gods, including Anubis, who is known as the god of the dead. The third style didn't have any gold or fancy decorations, but was instead placed inside a pottery coffin shaped like a person, known as an anthropoid. The fourth style was simply wrapped in linen. Each mummy was buried with a number of artifacts like jewelry, pottery for food, wine jars, and coins. This next story is, it's always been one of my favorites. It sounds completely made up. It's gonna sound like the Egyptian version of the Goonies, but this is actually a real thing that happened, and yeah, I just love this news story. So the media didn't release the guy's full name. He was simply referred to as Nagy, but Nagy was digging in his backyard one day in 2015 when he stumbled on this tunnel. Now, before I even say where the tunnel leads, let me just say, finding a tunnel in your backyard would just be incredibly cool no matter what. Like, I'd be calling my friends over, we'd be getting an adventure going, I'd buy an Indiana Jones hat, whole 9 yards, but let's get to where this tunnel actually led. The tunnel, right in this guy's backyard, led to Khufu Pyramid, one of the 3 pyramids that make up the Giza pyramid complex. It's also one of the largest and oldest. Now, how insane is that? First of all, why was he digging? Who just goes digging in their backyard? If I was digging in my backyard, I'd find some worms. Probably that would be about it. This guy randomly decides to dig one day and finds a tunnel leading to the Great Pyramid. He does live in Egypt, but still, what are the chances of this? The tunnel was about 33 feet beneath his house and is made of stone blocks. Now, he didn't go into this tunnel and make his way to the Great Pyramid and find this out for himself. That would have been way cooler, but probably not the best idea to just go into an unknown tunnel buried in your backyard. Instead, he contacted authorities and archaeologists were sent to his yard who made the discovery. And what's even crazier is that this tunnel was actually something archaeologists have been seeking out for a long time. It was written about, but had never actually been found until then.
Next is the Golden Tongue. At the Taposiris Magna Temple, researchers made a fascinating discovery, finding several poorly preserved mummies with a shocking item, a golden tongue placed inside the skull. The ancient Egyptians believed a golden tongue was required to be able to speak to Osiris in the afterlife, but it was long considered a myth by many that they would actually place gold tongues into the mummies' mouths. This is no gold leaf either, but a solid gold tongue left inside of the mummies. There were numerous other artifacts and quite a bit of gold as well, but the mummies were in a shockingly poor state. They were very badly preserved and almost entirely broken down, something which is very unusual given that the Egyptians had mastered the art of mummification several decades before this tomb was filled with the deceased. It may be possible that the family didn't have the money to pay for the full embalming, but could spare enough for the gold for the tongue. However, it does still leave a mystery. These people were obviously well loved and well off given the amount of things they had to accompany them, so maybe they just had a bad embalmer. Next are mysterious mummies. Egypt is revered in the scientific community for 2 big things: cool new dinosaur species, and a whole crapload of mummies. The Sakara necropolis is one of the largest necropolises on Earth and has been the home of several tens of thousands of mummies, both human and otherwise. Recently, however, Sakara was the site of another mummy discovery, this time of several mummified cats, snakes, and crocodiles. That's not all though. There were also mummified birds and even a mummified beetle, about 4 times larger than it should have been. Maybe someone saw a massive beetle and thought, wow, this is incredible, we should really preserve this for the future generations, and hopefully everybody around them said, you're weird, dude. There were also 75 bronze cat statues, really not dodging the weird accusations. Cats were deeply important to the ancient Egyptians, Egyptians, not only because they dealt with pests and prevented disease, but also because they were seen as almost godlike, and as a proud personal servant of a cat, I can totally see where they're coming from. Several dozen mummified house cats were discovered alongside 5 mummified big cats, at least one of which is a lion. It's likely these were offerings or idols of some sort, allowing the living to closer connect to the realm of the gods and the dead. And finally is the Falcon Shrine. The port of Berenike was a critical one for the ancient Egyptians, and so continues to be searched and excavated in search of strange and wondrous things. And boy oh boy is this strange, at least. Archaeologists discovered a shrine filled with some of the most unusual items ever discovered. First and most shocking were the 15 headless falcons. Why were the falcons headless? Why were there so many? We don't know, but that's not all. The falcons were arrayed on a dais before a stone pedestal holding 3 stone statues of gods. One was the child god Harpocrates, another has a falcon head but has not been quite identified, and the last has also not been identified but has cow horns and a solar disc. It's believed the falcons were offerings to the gods alongside some other remains that suggest sacrifice and feasting took place in this small temple. There was an iron harpoon also laid out alongside the falcons, but the final piece may be the most unusual. A large stela that reads, in ancient Greek, "It is improper to boil a head here." So at least we know the falcon heads weren't boiled, but we know very, very little else about this religious group. The temple dates from after the 4th century AD, meaning Christianity was already the dominant religion in the Roman Empire, and yet this small cult or temple continued to survive, showing that the ancient Egyptians did not just trade over to Christianity, but that the old gods survived for longer in worship than we initially believed.
What you're looking at here is a massive 100-ton artifact, dubbed a black box, found in a cave system about 12 miles south of the Great Pyramid of Giza. This is just one of 24, and we still don't know exactly what these thousands of year-old boxes were built for. They're made of solid Aswan granite. Again, they're incredibly heavy, and it's not even clear how these things were carved and transported. The engineering is remarkable too. These things are smooth as tabletops on the inside and outside. They also have hieroglyphics carved into them. Question has always been though, how were these incredibly heavy slabs of stone transported from rock quarries to their current location? Just another unsolved mystery of ancient Egypt. Back in 2020, archaeologists made a huge find in a necropolis south of Cairo. They uncovered dozens of ancient coffins. Khalid el-Anani, Egypt's antiquities minister at the time, said that at least 59 sealed sarcophagi were discovered, most containing mummies, buried over 2,600 years ago in 3 wells. The discovery was announced at the iconic step pyramid of Djoser in Sakara, where the coffins were displayed. At the event, one sarcophagus was opened in front of reporters. Sakara is home to at least 11 pyramids, and a number of tombs from different eras. And these recently found coffins belong to priests, top officials, and elites. Among the finds were 28 statues of Ptah and a bronze statue of the god Nefertari, inscribed with the name of its owner, a priest named Babi Amun. Alright, this next one's actually pretty entertaining. Just a little reminder that people never really change. Recent findings reveal that ancient Egyptians had a very unique way of tracking employee time off. A limestone tablet known as an ostrakon, housed in the British Museum and dating back to 1250 BCE, gives us a glimpse into the work-life balance of ancient Egyptians. This tablet lists 40 workers and details the days they missed, along with reasons given like illness and family duties. The absences are organized by season and date. For instance, on month 4, winter day 24, a worker named Pandub missed his shift because his mother wasn't feeling well and he had to take care of her. Of course, a lot of workers took off work because they were sick or injured. One name that's listed is Hainafer, who had eye troubles. There's also Seba, who was bitten by a scorpion. And another reason for not coming into work was brewing beer. This actually shows up a number of times. Beer was a staple drink in Egypt and was actually considered a meal. Anyway, just goes to show that people struggled with their work-life balance just like we do today. Although I don't think calling into work because you're brewing beer is gonna go over very well today. What you're looking at here is Pharaoh Kufu's sarcophagus. It may not look like much, but it's actually an incredibly impressive piece of engineering. It was made from a single piece of granite weighing about 3.75 tons. It's so large that it couldn't have been brought into the burial chamber after the pyramid was completed, so it had to have been placed there during the pyramid's construction. And what makes this sarcophagus even more impressive is that it was hollowed out from the inside, and it has holes that look like they were made with some kind of drill. So the question is, how did people in ancient times with what we think were primitive tools manage to create something like this? The effort and skill needed to make Khufu's coffin, like so many other constructions from ancient Egypt, just seems very ahead of its time. In 2015, something unusual was detected at the Great Pyramid using thermal cameras. Researchers found higher temperatures in 3 stones at the bottom of the pyramid. The Egyptian Antiquities Ministry had a few possible explanations for these heat spots. You figured they could be empty spaces within the pyramid, internal air currents, or just variations in the building materials that were used. Of course, there were also fun theories that the heat was being given off by ancient technology buried deep beneath the pyramids. Experts had been actively searching for hidden chambers in the pyramids. A team of architects and scientists from Egypt, France, Canada, and Japan conducted the thermal survey using sunrise and sunset. So they took advantage of the temperature changes as the sun heated the limestone and then allowed it to cool down. The ministry found that there were these thermal anomalies during their observations. One heat spot was found on the eastern side of the Great Pyramid. The stones there showed a distinct difference in temperature compared to others, hinting at something beneath the surface. This discovery was what eventually led to the Operation Scan Pyramids project, where they found that hidden corridor in the Pyramid of Giza that I mentioned earlier.
Next up, we have something that is not so much scary as it is super cool. In 2016, Ann Austin, an archaeologist at Stanford University, began inspecting the body of a 3,000-year-old female mummy, only to discover something incredibly unusual, for the time that is. The woman's neck was covered in markings. At first, it was believed that they had been drawn on after the woman died in lieu of placing physical traditional burial amulets on the body. But upon closer inspection, Anne realized that the markings were permanent and that the woman had been alive when she received them, making the markings the oldest representative image tattoos known to man. Earlier markings found on other mummies were made solely up of abstract dots and lines. After thoroughly inspecting the rest of the mummy's body, Anne found 30 separate inkings across the woman's neck, back, arms, and shoulders. This girl was yadded up. Sorry. Images of eyes, snakes, lotus blossoms, and cows, often associated with the goddess Hathor, the goddess of love, beauty, music, dancing, fertility, and pleasure, were all present on the body. The mummy was subsequently nicknamed the Priestess of Hathor, and it is believed that the images were etched into her skin during a religious cult activity.
Just this year, a 4,000-plus-year-old ancient Egyptian tomb was discovered, along with a bunch of really cool artifacts. Once again, this was a team of Egyptian and Japanese archaeologists. Now, during their expedition in Sakara, they found a 4,000-year-old tomb. Inside were the remains of a man buried with a colorful mask dating back to the 2nd Dynasty, around 2649 to 2150 BC, making him over 4,000 years old. They also found a coffin from the 18th Dynasty containing a well-preserved alabaster vessel. There were also burials with artifacts like terracotta statues, one depicting the goddess Isis, another statue was Harpocrates, the god of silence and secrets. The team also found a bunch of amulets, pottery models, and pieces of broken pottery called ostraka, which were etched with inscriptions.
Alright, this next one is just gross. By now we should all know that mummies and the process of mummification was, in ancient Egypt, an incredibly sacred cultural practice. The process of embalming was meticulous and consisted of 9 stages. 1. Insert a hook through a hole near the nose and pull out part of the brain. 2. Make a cut on the left side of the tummy and remove all internal organs. 3. Let the internal organs dry before placing the lungs, intestines, stomach, and liver inside decorative jars. 4. Place the heart back inside the body. 5. Rinse the inside of the body with wines and spices. 6. Cover the corpse in salt and let rest for 70 days. No, this is not a recipe for a souffle, or whatever it might be. 7. Stuff the body with linen or sand to give it back its human shape. 8. Wrap the body from head to toe in bandages using resin to form a seal. And 9. Place the mummy in a sarcophagus. What I want to focus on right now is stage number 8, which utilizes resin, which Europeans mistook for bitumen, which they believed to have healing properties, which led to wealthy Europeans purchasing ground up mummies and consuming them. The health benefits were non-existent, and the whole thing was super gross. Oh, and in the late 1800s, when mummies became too hard to acquire, bodies of deceased, dehydrated criminals were used instead.
Next up, we have the Pit of Hands. Archaeologists have found a number of severed hands in ancient Egyptian tombs, and it's believed that these severed hands were actually war trophies. So back then, it wasn't uncommon for victorious warriors to collect all these grisly souvenirs from their victories. Many historians believe these hands were ritually severed as part of a ceremony, likely to signify the defeat and domination of their enemies. But why hands specifically? Well, hands were symbols of power and agency in ancient Egypt. By removing them, the victors were not only physically disabling their enemies, but also symbolically stripping them of their ability to resist or fight back. It's hard to fight without hands. In one case, a number of these severed hands were found in pits during excavations of a palace near the ancient city of Avaris. These pits contained hundreds of severed hands that were all neatly stacked together, and the largest pit was right in front of the throne room. They seem like they were pretty important. There's even ancient Egyptian artwork depicting soldiers possibly trading severed hands for gold. Some also speculate they could have been depicting offerings to the gods.
Next up, we have the possible discovery of Queen Cleopatra VII's tomb. We are so close, I could taste it, but not in the way Europeans did in the 1800s, because that's gross, but this is incredibly cool. In 2022, a 1,500 meter long, 1.8 meter high tunnel was discovered beneath an Egyptian temple that project leader Dr. Kathleen Martinez believes may very well lead to the lost tomb of the last ruler of Egypt, who was born in 70 or 69 BC and ruled as co-regent for almost 30 years. Inside of the tunnel, located in the area of the Temple of Tapizaries Magna, west of Alexandria, 2 carefully crafted stone heads were found that only furthered Dr. Martinez's belief that she must have stumbled upon Cleopatra's tomb, which has always been rumored to be located in the area. If Dr. Martinez is correct in her assumption, she may have also found the final resting place of Cleopatra's lover, Mark Antony, who is believed to have been buried alongside his lover, Cleopatra. Romantic.
And finally, we gotta talk about cursed tombs. Pharaohs made it very clear that they didn't want their tombs being broken into, so they'd inscribe them with curses. Didn't really stop anyone, but they are pretty ominous. And there have been some pretty eerie cases of archaeologists and tomb raiders having pretty bad luck after encountering them, or even dying soon after. The curses often threaten lifelong torment, not just for the trespasser, but for their entire family as well. One of the most famous examples is, of course, the curse of King Tut's tomb. When British archaeologist Howard Carter opened the tomb in 1922, several members of his team died under mysterious circumstances shortly after the discovery, leading some to believe that the tomb may have actually been cursed. The curses weren't vague threats either on these tombs. A lot of them are just very blunt, with statements like, "His flesh shall belong to the fire," and "Your entire family will be eaten by crocodiles," and that sort of thing. Maybe not something scientists look at and are all that afraid of, but definitely something that would make me second guess going in there.
In our number 4 spot today, we are talking about the gold-tongued mummies. In the sands of Taposiris Magna, archaeologists unearthed a secret that left them speechless. Mummies with mouths of gold. Not golden teeth, no, but tiny, perfectly crafted tongues of pure gold resting on the lips of the dead. It's like something out of an Indiana Jones movie, right? But this is real, and it has experts scratching their heads. Was this a bizarre form of ancient bling? A way to guarantee smooth talking in the afterlife? Or maybe a dark ritual we haven't even begun to understand? These golden-tongued mummies are rewriting the rules of ancient Egyptian burial practices, and with every new discovery, the mystery only deepens. opens. What secrets did these people take to their graves? And what else lies hidden beneath the sands of time? Next, we are talking about the tattooed mummies. A time-worn priestess with intricate tattoos etched into her leathery skin isn't just a stunning find, it's a direct challenge to everything researchers assumed about ancient body art in Egypt. These permanent symbols, once reserved for modern imaginations, have turned up on mummies like the renowned Amenhotep, raising big questions about their purpose. Were these tattoos protective charms, markers of hidden status, or some form of spiritual medicine? Decoding the mysterious ink is definitely no easy task. The complex designs refuse to yield a clear narrative, leaving us grappling with hints of a language that's been lost beneath centuries of desert dust. Next, we are talking about the elongated skull mummies. Some Egyptian mummies exhibit unusual cranial shapes that have sparked speculation. While artificial cranial deformation was practiced in various ancient cultures, definitive evidence is scarce in Egypt, and its presence would raise more questions than answers. Something about these elongated skulls stops you dead in your tracks. Egyptian mummies whose heads don't fit the mold of what we expect from the land of Nile. Archaeologists know that in some ancient cultures, people deliberately shaped skulls to achieve certain ideals of beauty, social status, or spiritual significance, but solid proof of such customs in Egypt remains elusive. If these stretched craniums were intentional, what possessed someone to transform a human skull into such an unusual shape? If not, are we facing genetic anomalies, weird burial conditions that distorted the bones over time, or something even stranger hiding in the historical shadows? And finally, in our number 1 spot today, we have the prosthetic toe mummies. There is more to a few Egyptian mummies than dried flesh and dusty bandages. Some were buried with prosthetic body parts that rival modern craftsmanship. One striking example comes from the Theban necropolis, where archaeologists uncover a lifelike wooden and leather toe built to help its wearer walk with ease. This finely engineered artificial limb wasn't just for show, it suggests that ancient Egyptians understood complex biomechanics and tailored medical solutions long before we gave them credit for such skill. Were these high-quality prosthetics reserved for the elite, or were they more common than we might think? Each new discovery forces experts to rethink what kind of medical know-how Egyptians packed into their iconic tombs and how much there is still left to uncover.
In 2011, archaeologists in the ancient capital city of Avaris discovered a series of severed hands buried in the ground. The 12 severed hands dated back to around 1500 BCE and were found in pits just outside the walls of a palace. In one pit, 8 hands were found grouped together, while the others were in a nearby pit only about 3 feet away. Interestingly, both pits would have been visible from the throne room of the palace, meaning they might have been very important trophies for the rulers. Researcher Julia Greski from the German Archaeological Institute noted that Egyptian texts mention a practice called gold of honor. This involved presenting the hands of slain enemies to the pharaoh in exchange for gold jewelry, like necklaces or pendants. Interestingly, there were no cut marks on these bones. They'd been removed very carefully, possibly as part of a ritual. The tendons that connected the hands to the arms were likely severed after death and after rigor mortis had passed. But why take your enemy's hands as trophies? Well, hands were very symbolically important to the ancient Egyptians, representing power and agency. On top of that, without your hands, you can't really wield a weapon, so I guess it makes sense. According to ancient Egyptian beliefs, losing a hand would prevent you from entering the afterlife as well. So considering that, hands would have been pretty significant war trophies. The catacombs of Kom el Shoqafa just look incredible. I would absolutely love to explore this place. Looks like something straight out of Zelda. They're actually considered one of these 7 wonders of the Middle Ages. It's a necropolis made up of a series of tombs, statues, and artifacts with a blend of Egyptian, Greek, and Roman influence. Discovered in 1900, a donkey accidentally fell into the shaft, and that's how this place was found. That's crazy. These catacombs date back to the 2nd century CE, during the age of the Antonine emperors. They were used as burial chambers from the 2nd to the 4th centuries. The catacombs are made up of 3 levels that were tunneled into solid rock. The 3rd level was completely underwater until more recent restorations. And inside the catacombs is a funeral banquet hall where family and friends would have gathered on stone couches during burials. The name Kom el Shoqafa means mound of shards, and it comes from the many broken pottery shards found in the area. Visitors would bring food and wine to the tombs, and instead of carrying the empty jars back home, they'd break them and leave the pieces behind. When this site was discovered, heaps of these broken plates were found. Among all the fascinating finds is the Hall of Caracalla, which contains the bones of horses that were buried there for Emperor Caracalla in 215 CE. As I mentioned before, there's a blend of styles here. On the walls of the catacombs are carvings, some blending in Greek and Roman influences. For example, there are scenes depicting the Egyptian god Anubis, but dressed in Roman-style clothing. The tomb chamber features 3 massive stone sarcophagi, which are super intricate. I mean, it just looks like the type of place you could spend years exploring, and you'd always find something new to look at. The tomb of Nefertari is a beautiful burial site in Egypt's Valley of the Queens. It was discovered in 1904 by Ernesto Schiaparelli, who is the director of the Egyptian Museum in Turin. Nefertari, whose name means beautiful companion, was the favorite wife of Pharaoh Ramses II, and he made sure everyone knew it. He called her the one for whom the sun shines, and even built a temple in her honor. The paintings in the tomb reveal a lot about Nefertari's life and the Egyptian beliefs surrounding death. One famous image shows her playing a game called Senet, showing the importance of games in her culture. There's also a scene of her meeting Thoth, the god of writing, meaning she may have been literate. The wall art also shows scenes from the Book of the Dead detailing rituals and tests Nefertari would face in the afterlife. After this discovery, it became clear that the tomb had suffered from looting, unfortunately. The treasures, including Nefertari's sarcophagus and mummy, were gone, but remnants of her knees were found, oddly enough, and about 2/3 of its wall paintings still remain, fortunately. The tomb has also suffered water damage, unfortunately, and mold thanks to humidity. In 1986, there was a restoration project to preserve the paintings, and it was completed in 1992. Thonis Heraklion was an ancient Egyptian city that ended up at the bottom of the sea. It was located near the mouth of the Nile River and was one of the most important cities in ancient Egypt at one point, a thriving port city during the time of the pharaohs, a center for trade with Greece and other Mediterranean countries, and it played a big role in the Egyptian economy. The city was known for its grand temples, the statues dedicated to various gods and goddesses. We don't know exactly why it sank, but there were likely natural disasters like earthquakes and rising sea levels, which led to it gradually sinking underwater. For centuries, Thonis was lost and forgotten until underwater archaeologists rediscovered it in 2000, with divers finding well-preserved artifacts like statues, pottery, and religious objects.
Up first is the Rosetta Stone. The Rosetta Stone was one of the single most important archaeological discoveries ever made in human history, and the single most important discovery when it comes to the ancient Egyptian world. The Rosetta Stone is an obelisk inscribed with a royal decree from King Ptolemy V. The decree was for all citizens of Egypt, and given Egypt was an expansive empire with numerous different dialects and languages, it was written in 3 different scripts. The top has Egyptian hieroglyphics, while the middle has the slightly later Demotic script, which is also an Egyptian language but with letters instead of glyphs. Finally, the base is written in Old Greek. Each script was written in almost the exact same way, meaning the text was the first discovered that allowed modern knowledge of ancient Greek to lead to actual translations of both Demotic and hieroglyphic. Without this discovery, we would have no idea how to read thousands of other documents and texts, and it's allowed scientists and researchers to actually translate the discovered writings on sarcophagi, tombs, papyrus, and much more. It's difficult to imagine just how different our knowledge of ancient Egypt and Greece would be without our knowledge of the Rosetta Stone. Next is the Khufu ship. The Khufu ship was discovered in the grave of Pharaoh Kufu and is the oldest known ship ever discovered. Not only is it incredibly old and filled with unfathomably valuable grave grave goods, the Kufu ship is also in incredibly good condition. It's a style called a solar barge, allegedly the very ship design which the sun god Ra sails, and it's in such insanely good condition that this 5,000-year-old ship could be dropped in a river or lake today and would sail as well as it did 5,000 years ago. It's so well preserved, even the rope survived the sands of time, and numerous traditional ancient Egyptian rope tying techniques were gleaned from the boat. It's considered a masterwork of woodcraft and shipbuilding, and elevates our opinion of the engineering ability of the ancient Egyptians greatly. It was made of Lebanese cedar, the same as the tree on the current Lebanese flag. Next is the unknown queen. In 2022, archaeologists working near Sakara quite literally rewrote history when they discovered a brand new tomb while excavating King Tut's tomb. Sakara is a massive necropolis, a city of the deceased, where hundreds of thousands of remains and burials were conducted. They uncovered 300 more coffins and over 100 more mummies, but even greater, they discovered a brand new Egyptian queen, literally never before heard of in the historical record, Queen Neith. Neith was undoubtedly powerful and respected judging by her ornate casket and the tomb she was placed in, but to discover an Egyptian queen entirely unrecorded in the historical record is a truly fantastic and mind-blowing discovery, and opens up numerous doors for more Egyptologists and researchers to investigate. The tomb was also likely built in the New Kingdom period, which is over 3,000 years ago and is considered highly unique for an area better known for Old Kingdom period tombs. The tomb also includes a mummy with a solid gold face mask, gaming pieces for the game's Senate, a huge limestone sarcophagus, and a soldier buried with his bronze axe. Next is the Gizan Chamber. In March of 2023, a truly incredible discovery was made that flipped the archaeological community on its head. The Great Pyramid of Giza, which has been standing for thousands of years and studied for hundreds, still somehow has new discoveries to reveal to us. Using advanced ultrasound techniques and infrared thermography, a new team of researchers were able to locate and identify a mysterious hidden chamber. Now, no one's been inside, only identified it through scientific means, and we really don't know what the chamber is meant to be for. Some have said it's some sort of ritual room, perhaps a place for sacrifices or curses, or maybe it's a storage closet for the workers who built the pyramid that was bricked up when they were done. Researchers are fairly certain that the room takes significant weight off of the entryway and may be a sort of internal structural arch, designed to reduce weight and spread out the strain so the entrance doesn't collapse. It's believed these techniques were perfected on previous pyramids, but we still have no idea what this enclosed and hidden chamber could possibly be for. Knowing the ancient Egyptians, it's almost impossible that it holds no spiritual, religious, or cultural meaning whatsoever, and yet there does not seem to be any way inside. Maybe it's a waiting room for the spirits of the dead.
Watch what happened when this dude paraglided over the Great Pyramid of Giza. Find out about a hidden corridor recently discovered and a series of mysterious 100-ton boxes that archaeologists have been trying to make sense of. These are recent discoveries made inside Egypt's pyramids that left scientists fearful. This guy paraglided over the Egyptian pyramids. Take a look at this. Just earlier this month, a 35-year-old paramotor pilot named Yanis Terzis flew over some famous Egyptian landmarks, including the Great Pyramid of Giza and the Sphinx. It's incredibly breathtaking footage, and I am incredibly jealous of this man. At one point, he got up close enough to see the symbols etched onto the top. That is incredible. That's a part of the pyramids we never get to see. I didn't even know there was stuff written on the top until today. As Terzis stated, most of the paramotor pilots fly high for safety precautions. Sometimes I like to get a little bit risky on my flights and go close to the ground and over the building to get amazing shots and videos. And an amazing video he got. He also went on to say, on the pyramid flight I had the intention of touching my foot tip over the pyramids. That was something unique that I'm going to remember for the rest of my life.
وأحب أن أؤكد أننا مستمرين في العمل.
That was Ahmed Issa, the Egyptian Minister of Tourism and Antiquities, talking about a discovery that had just been made in the Great Pyramid of Giza, a hidden corridor that had been sealed off for thousands of years. Using advanced scanning technology, researchers revealed a hidden corridor that measures about 9 meters long and 2 meters wide. This corridor is located on the northern side of the pyramid, just above the main entrance, and it's sealed off, meaning it can't be accessed from the outside. It's believed to date back about 4,500 years. The discovery was announced by Ahmed Isa and the famous Egyptian archaeologist Zahi Hawass during a ceremony held at the pyramid. The Scan Pyramids project, which uses cutting-edge scanning methods to explore unexplored areas of the pyramids, was responsible for uncovering this chamber. Experts from France, Japan, Germany, and Canada collaborated on this project using 5 non-invasive techniques to analyze the structure without disturbing it. Still waiting for an update on this story. At this point, we still don't know what was actually hidden in the corridor, if anything, and we don't really know what it was used for, but they're still looking into it. Hopefully we'll get an update soon. Just back in May, a team of researchers from Japan and Egypt uncovered what they're calling an underground anomaly while studying the area beneath the Western Cemetery of the Giza Pyramid Complex. The Western Cemetery, which is located close to the Great Pyramid, contains a bunch of mastabas, which are rectangular tombs made of limestone or mud. But one section of the cemetery has been largely untouched, a flat area without any visible structures. Curious about what might be buried there, the research team used ground-penetrating radar and electrical resuscitivity tomography, or ERT, to scan the ground. And they noticed this odd density under the surface, as if something man-made had been buried below. The researchers identified 2 distinct underground structures, one shallow and one deep. The shallow structure is L-shaped, just under 2 meters deep. The deeper structure is even more mysterious. The team is seeking to excavate the site to find out what these structures are. Who knows what they'll find down there? All I know is I am impatiently waiting. The biggest mystery about the pyramids, and really one of the biggest mysteries in the world, is how they were built. There have been some interesting theories over the years, but just back in May, scientists made a huge breakthrough. A research team from the University of North Carolina, Wilmington, thinks they've found clues to a long-lost branch of the River Nile, now buried beneath desert and farmland. A river that might have played a big role in transporting material for the pyramids. For years, archaeologists have suspected that the ancient Egyptians used a nearby waterway for transporting heavy stone blocks, but they didn't really know where this river could have been. To uncover the mystery, the research team combined radar, satellite imagery, historical maps, geophysical surveys, and sediment coring to create this detailed map of the river branch. The area is thought to have been buried by a major drought and sandstorms thousands of years ago. Radar technology allowed the researchers to penetrate the sand surface and produce images of hidden features, revealing buried rivers and ancient structures near where many pyramids are located. The river branch, dubbed the Aramat branch, Aramat meaning pyramids in Arabic, was found to border 31 pyramids built between 4,700 and 3,700 years ago. This means that the river was likely used to help transport material for the pyramids. Dr. Suzanne Onstein, a co-author of the study, stated that locating the actual river branch and having the data that shows there was a waterway that could be used for the transportation of heavier blocks, equipment, people, everything, really helps us explain pyramid construction. She went on to explain that the river would have allowed the ancient Egyptians to, quote, use the river's energy to carry these heavy blocks rather than human labor. Back in September of 2023, a bunch of hidden chambers were found in an ancient Egyptian pyramid. This pyramid, built around 4,400 years ago for Pharaoh Kufu, is located in the Abusir necropolis in northern Egypt. The pyramid has been undergoing restoration since 2019 to stabilize it and clean out its interiors. And as workers were clearing away debris from a collapsed corridor, they stumbled on these hidden chambers. The spaces were likely storage rooms, which might not sound as thrilling as finding a hidden treasure, but they're important for understanding how the pyramid was designed and used. The pyramid's tunnels have been blocked since its first excavation in 1836, and now, almost 2 centuries later, researchers had access to areas that have been hidden for ages. Cleopatra, she's the stuff of legend. Last queen of Egypt, lover of Julius Caesar, and later the tragic lover of Mark Antony. After her death in 30 BC, BCE, she and Mark Antony were said to be buried together in a tomb somewhere in Alexandria, but no one has ever found it. And it's definitely not for a lack of trying. Archaeologists have been on the hunt for Cleopatra's tomb for years, but even with the countless expeditions, the digging, the underwater searches, it's still never been found. Some think it might have been destroyed or hidden deliberately. Others think it could be submerged under the waters of Alexandria, which has been slowly sinking over time. The fact is, we don't know if it's out there waiting to be found or if it's been lost to history forever. Cleopatra's tomb might be one of the greatest archaeological discoveries ever, but for now, it's still an unsolved mystery. Heraklion was an ancient city with grand temples and statues sitting on the coast of the Mediterranean. Then it disappeared entirely, sinking into the sea. This once booming port city in Egypt was written of by ancient writers, but no one knew where it went. That is, until 2000, when underwater archaeologists rediscovered it off the coast of Alexandria. Turned out the city had sunk, probably because of rising sea levels and earthquakes, but there are other theories. What archaeologists found, though, was mind-blowing. Huge statues, temples, even a harbor that had been sitting on the sea floor for centuries. So what happened? Was it a natural disaster or something else? Some people think the city may have been deliberately buried, but whatever the cause, the rediscovery of Heraklion was one of the greatest archaeological finds in history. It helped historians paint a better picture of not just ancient Egyptian life, but their connection with the rest of the Mediterranean world. The Great Pyramid of Giza is a masterpiece of ancient engineering. You probably don't need me to tell you that, but how on earth did the Egyptians move these massive stones, some weighing up to 80 tons? Well, here's a fun theory. Some believe the ancient Egyptians somehow made the stones float. Sounds like science fiction, but I'm not talking about stones floating in the air, at least not entirely. There are a few ideas floating around, pun intended. Some think the builders might have used water to reduce the weight of the stones, floating them over waterways. And yes, there are also conspiracies and talk about long-lost advanced technology that they had access to that literally allowed them to levitate the stones. Of course, mainstream Egyptologists don't subscribe to that idea, though, saying the stones were either moved using a complex system of ropes and ramps and pulleys, or the water thing. The ancient Egyptians were huge fans of Ra, the sun god. They built massive sun temples dedicated to him. We have depictions of these temples in the form of hieroglyphics and art, and though some of these temples have turned up, one just a few years back even, many of them are still nowhere to be found. No one really knows what happened to them. Some of these temples would have been destroyed by natural disasters, others just disappeared over time, buried by the desert sands, or could have been destroyed by invaders. Sun temples were important for both religious and political reasons. They were places of worship, but they also symbolized the power of the pharaoh. Why they disappeared is still up for debate. Maybe their influence waned, maybe they were targeted to be destroyed by later rulers who wanted to build something new. Whatever happened to them, though, the lost sun temples are one of Egypt's greatest mysteries. Now let's get a little weird. In the Dendera temple, there's a set of reliefs that have been confusing people for a very long time. These carvings seem to show what looks like an electric light bulb. The reliefs show what appear to be figures holding large bulbous objects connected by snakes, which some people interpret as wires. And yeah, it's hard not to look at this and not see a light bulb. Could this be evidence that the Egyptians had access to electricity? It's a theory that gets a lot of attention, especially from those who believe that ancient Egyptians were even more advanced than we already think. Most Egyptologists say the so-called light bulb interpretation is a stretch, though. They think the carvings are just symbolic representations of Egyptian religious beliefs, not ancient electrical devices. Still, with all the incredible stuff this society churned out, and how much mystery still surrounds them, it wouldn't be surprising if they had access to technology that was well beyond their time. Finally, let's talk about one of the creepiest mysteries surrounding ancient Egypt, the curse of the pharaohs. According to legend, anyone who disturbed the tomb of a pharaoh would suffer a curse, leading to illness, misfortune, or even death. This myth really came to life in 1922, when the tomb of King Tut was discovered. Shortly after the tomb was opened, several people involved in the excavation died under mysterious circumstances. Most famously, Lord Carnarvon, who financed the dig. People started to connect the deaths to the curse, and the story became one of the most notorious urban legends in history. In fact, stories like this are part of why videos like the one you're watching right now exist. Egypt started to gain a reputation in other parts of the world as being a strange and mysterious place. Of course, Many of the deaths can be explained by natural causes. Carnarvon, for example, died from an infected mosquito bite, but the curse of the pharaohs helped spark this interest in ancient Egypt over in the West, and that interest has never really gone away.
Mummification is one of the most iconic aspects of ancient Egypt, and it's also pretty disgusting. But how did the Egyptians perfect the art of preserving the past? The process of mummification was essential for the journey to this afterlife that I talked about, but the techniques the Egyptians used still baffle modern scientists. While we know that resins, oils, and wrapping techniques were employed, there's still so much to learn about how the Egyptians managed to preserve bodies for thousands of years. Thousands of years! That's crazy. Some researchers suggest that the Egyptians might have had advanced knowledge of chemistry and biology, far beyond what we'd expect from their time. But how do they manage to achieve such remarkable preservation, sometimes even down to the cellular level? That part makes no sense. The art of mummification is one of the greatest technical mysteries of ancient Egypt. For centuries, the pyramids have been thought to serve as tombs for all of these pharaohs, but some researchers propose a more complex function. The sheer scale and alignment of the pyramids suggest they might have served as energy generators, astronomical observatories, or even symbolic representations of the sun's rays. There's also the possibility that the pyramids were part of a much larger cosmic design, connected to the stars and the cycles of the heavens. Yeah, it's a lot to take in. Some even argue that they may have been used for ritual purposes or to mark sacred locations. Now, despite the overwhelming evidence that the pyramids were tombs, their precise purpose does remain an open question, with new theories emerging all the time, just like these pharaohs. Greek historians spoke of a labyrinth near the pyramid complex of Hawara, a vast underground network of chambers and passageways filled with treasures and inscriptions. Now, despite many attempts, the labyrinth has never been found, and some believe it may have been destroyed or hidden over time. Could it still be buried beneath the sands of Egypt, just waiting to be uncovered by us? Now, if the labyrinth did indeed ever exist, it could hold valuable insights into the religious practices, culture, and the history of ancient Egypt, perhaps even revealing clues about the origins of the pyramids themselves. That would be a pretty neat find. The Egyptians worshipped a pantheon of gods and goddesses. There's all many shapes and sizes, they're all unique and cool, each representing different aspects of life and nature. But where did these gods come from? Were they inspired by earlier lost civilizations, or were they symbolic representations of natural forces like, say, the sun, the Nile, or even the earth itself? Now, despite years of study, the origin of Egypt's gods still remains a mystery. Some scholars believe that the gods were based on real historical figures and or events, while others propose that they were entirely mythological. Now, what is clear now, however, is that these gods played an essential role in the daily lives of ancient Egyptians, and understanding their true origin could of course unlock deeper insights into Egyptian culture as a whole. After thriving for over 3,000 years, ancient Egyptian civilization eventually began to decline. Now, the reasons behind this fall are still a matter of debate. Some historians point to invasions from foreign armies like the Hyksos or the Persians, while others argue that internal factors such as political instability, famine, and environmental changes also played a significant role. Now, despite Egypt's enduring strength and wealth, the ultimate cause of its decline still remains elusive. Some believe it was a combination of internal and external pressures, while others think that it was natural evolution of the civilization's power and influence over time. Now, regardless, the end of one of history's greatest civilizations is still shrouded in mystery. There's much more to come.
Ancient Egypt's lost labyrinth, mentioned by historians like Herodotus and Strabo, is a legendary structure that's eluded archaeologists for centuries. According to ancient descriptions, it was located near the foot of the pyramid of Amenhotep I at Hawara. The labyrinth was said to be a massive complex containing over 3,000 rooms and a series of underground tunnels, all laid out in this seemingly impossible pattern. It was so vast that Herodotus claimed that even the most experienced travelers got lost inside. Herodotus also described the labyrinth as having a central structure that was so impressive it even rivaled the Great Pyramid of Giza. It was described as being filled with chambers, statues, and the tombs of kings. Strabo, a Greek geographer, also mentioned that it was larger and more complex than any other structure in Egypt. At some point, the site was destroyed though. either completely by natural events like earthquakes or deliberately buried and forgotten over time. As for why it would have been intentionally buried, some think it may have had something to do with Egypt's changing political landscape, that some ruler chose to erase its memory. Nefertiti, the beautiful and powerful queen of the 18th dynasty, is one of the most famous figures in Egyptian history. For years, historians and archaeologists have speculated about the location of her tomb, but it's still never been found. She was the wife of Pharaoh Akhenaten and the mother of Tutankhamun. In 2003, British archaeologist Nicholas Reeves set off a new wave of interest in the hunt for Nefertiti's tomb when he came out with a theory about her tomb being hidden behind a false wall in King Tut's tomb in the Valley of the Kings. The theory is based on the idea that Nefertiti, who was believed to have ruled briefly as pharaoh after her husband's death, could have been buried alongside her son-in-law. Scanning and imaging technology is getting better by the day, and it's been used to search the area for hidden chambers, but no one has found any conclusive proof that Nefertiti's tomb is there. Now let's talk about the Great Sphinx. This iconic figure with the body of a lion and the face of a pharaoh has been sitting at the Giza plateau for thousands of years. Most scholars believe it was built around 2500 BCE during the reign of Pharaoh Kufu, but there are also alternate theories. Some researchers are convinced that it's way older than that. How much older? Well, some think it could date back as far as 10,000 BCE, which would blow the conventional timeline out of the water. But why do some researchers think this? Well, the Sphinx shows signs of erosion that look more like the water damage than wind and sand erosion, which would make sense if it had been exposed to heavy rain long before Egypt became a desert. Some archaeologists think that the Sphinx was built by some much older civilization, and the Egyptians later rebuilt it during Khufu's reign. But for now, it's still a mystery. Was the Sphinx built during Khufu's time, or was it a relic of an even older, mysterious culture? Next, let's look at the Step Pyramid of Djoser. This is the first pyramid ever built, and it set the stage for the massive stone structures that would follow. The pyramid was designed by the famous architect Imhotep and built during Egypt's third dynasty, around 2700 BCE. But beneath the pyramid is this network of tunnels and chambers, and no one really knows what's down there. Archaeologists found a ton of passages, crypts, and even strange inscriptions, but some chambers are still unexplored. People think there could be more hidden chambers below ground, maybe secret rooms with treasures, or who knows, even more royal tombs. And what's even more interesting is that with today's tech like ground-penetrating radar, we're able to scan these areas and see things we didn't know existed. But even still, despite all the scanning and digging, there's still a lot we don't understand about the Step Pyramid. So what could really be hiding down there?
Off today in our number 10 spot, we have the Screaming Mummy, also known as Unknown Man E. There is a mummy whose face looks forever trapped in a silent scream. Mouth open, head thrown back, and no one knows why. Dubbed the Screaming Mummy, this grim figure found in DB 320 is an unsettling break from the polished, elegant norm of Egyptian burial customs. He got no comforting rites, no royal pomp, just a hasty embalming and a suspiciously bare-bones setup that makes his afterlife look more like a rushed cover-up than a dignified farewell. Some think he could be Prince Pentawere, mixed up in a scandalous plot against Pharaoh Ramesses III. Others wonder if he was the victim of a sinister curse or a brutal crime. Yet, after all the DNA tests and forensic scans, experts still can't say for certain what forced his body into that nightmarish pose or why he ended up lying in his tomb screaming without a sound. Next, we are talking about the mysterious KV-55 mummy. A battered coffin found in the famous Valley of the Kings shouldn't look like it was thrown together at the last minute, but that's exactly what archaeologists uncovered in the tomb KV-55. A mummy so badly decayed it's a miracle any scrap of it survived. Experts have argued for ages over who this poor soul could be. Was it Akhenaten, the controversial pharaoh who dared to worship the sun, or some lesser-known royal from the same era? Sure, DNA tests link the remains to Tutankhamun's family, but that hardly clears things up. Was the burial a deliberate insult, a desperate attempt to erase somebody's legacy, or something else entirely? All these contradicting clues, the rough treatment, and the glaring lack of the usual funerary honors are a slap in the face to what we thought we knew about how Egyptian royals were laid to rest. Next, we are talking about the Unknown Woman A. Most Egyptian mummies reflect reflect carefully orchestrated afterlives, but unknown woman A looks more like the aftermath of a sudden, violent disaster. Her body, found in the same location as the screaming mummy, has broken bones, a haphazard embalming job, and was tucked into a coffin never meant for her. She has no carved name, no fancy amulets, just desperate linen wrappings that hint at panic and fear rather than the usual reverence. Was she a disgraced royal tossed aside in political chaos, a victim of palace intrigue who ended up in the wrong tomb at the wrong time, or some tragic figure whose name wasn't worth remembering? The mystery lingers, with every crooked limb and missing inscription pushing researchers deeper into a puzzle that they still can't solve. Next, we are talking about Nefertari. Buried for nearly 3,000 years, the mummy of the priest Nefertari carried a bizarre secret that no one caught until cutting-edge scans peeked beneath centuries-old wrappings. Instead of a neat, ritual-approved burial, he ended up with a shallow, misshapen bowl cemented to his head by hardened resin. None of the known mummification customs explain this odd accessory. Was it a makeshift tool placed there to catch dripping embalming fluid that unexpectedly hardened too soon? Whatever the reason, attempts to pry it off must have failed. His skin was damaged at the back of his head, suggesting some frantic effort to remove it before the embalmers finally just gave up. They proceeded as if nothing had happened, layering the wrappings and locking this weird blunder into history, confident it would never see the light of day. Modern technology has changed that, and now experts are left scratching their own heads at this strange, unprecedented twist in ancient funerary practice. Next, we are talking about the Mother. A shocking discovery in 2021 flipped everything experts thought they knew about ancient Egyptian burials. A mummy once identified as a male priest turned out to be a pregnant woman who'd carried her unborn child for more than 2,000 years. This unexpected twist raises a swarm of unsettling mysteries. Why wasn't the fetus removed like other organs, and what did this mean for her journey into the afterlife? There's no fitting answer yet. Researchers are still struggling to make sense of the cultural, spiritual, or medical reasons behind this anomaly. Did her pregnancy grant her a unique status, or is it simply a rare oversight in the embalming process? Next, we are talking about the lion cubs. There is something downright eerie about stumbling across two perfectly mummified lion cubs dating back 2,600 years, especially when they show up in a sprawling ancient cemetery south of modern-day Cairo. Archaeologists at Sakara recently uncovered these tiny 3-foot-long bundles wrapped in linen and tucked into ornate wooden boxes. This jaw-dropping, first-of-its-kind discovery didn't come alone. The site also revealed a bizarre menagerie of mummified wildlife, including cats, cobras, crocodiles, and even a massive scarab beetle, plus over 70 delicate cat statues crafted from wood and bronze. The fact that these cubs were prepared with the same care as human mummies raises unsettling questions. How important were these animals in Egyptian spiritual life, and what purpose did they serve in the dusty halls of the afterlife? While mummified cats are old news, complete lion mummies are almost unheard of, and the rare glimpses offered by CT scans haven't solved the puzzle of which other wild cats joined their ranks. The fact that lions once roamed Egypt and even lived in royal palaces only adds to the strangeness, teasing experts with yet another ancient mystery that refuses to be neatly explained.